Hi, and thank you for giving a brand new booktuber a chance. My name is Shelby, and welcome to Shelby Reads. We're doing things a little different. We're in my living room today. My bedroom is just a disaster zone. Anytime it's near Halloween, disaster zone. Don't ask. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a femme lesbian. I've been with my wonderful butch wife for a very long time, but we've been married for 5 years. Yay us, so cute. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to hear more about Sapphic books, because that's all we talk about on this channel, and it really helps the channel. We're up to 47, we're really killing it, but we gotta keep pushing so that I don't have to work overnights anymore. I'm just kidding, by the way, that's mostly a pipe dream, but who knows? Today I'm going to be talking about my reading wrap up for August of 2025. I read 8 books this month, bringing me up to 67 out of my 100 book goal for the year. Yay me, I'm on track. So let's get into it. So the first book I read in August was Never Ever Getting Back Together by Sophie Gonzales. This is a YA romance book, and now I'm going to read you the synopsis. It's been 2 years since Maya dumped her cheating ex-boyfriend Jordy, and she still can't escape him. His sister married the crown prince of a minor European country, and in the lead up to the wedding, he captured hearts globally as the eligible younger brother. So when Maya receives an invitation to be a contestant on Second Chance Romance, a new reality show in which the now famous Jordy will redate his ex-girlfriends in an effort to find the one that got away, she isn't interested. That is, until she realizes she can use this opportunity to exact her revenge. If she can make it to the finale, she can reject Jordy and publicly break his heart. As far as Maya's concerned, it's payback with interest, just what a guy like Jordy deserves. But when she gets to the set, she's confronted with the one person she hasn't accounted for. Sky, the beautiful, charismatic girl Jordy cheated on Maya with. How is she supposed to live with this girl for 6 weeks? Sharing bunk beds, for crying out loud? Except of course there's more to Sky than she lets most people see. Sky has her own reasons for being careful with her heart, and might be more willing to take Maya's side than it initially seems. If they can sustain their reluctant alliance and keep their unexpected chemistry from interfering, they might just have a chance to take Jordy down. This book was such like a fun and easy read. There's something about revenge against terrible men that I just deeply enjoy. Maybe it is in my lesbian blood, I'm not sure. I had a great time with the reality show setting aspect and talking about how like reality shows are not real and they're fabricated, and I found this entire book quite enjoyable. I will say, except for like the third act breakup, that's usually typically not really my favorite anyway, but also I just felt like one of the characters wanted the main character to give up on the revenge, and I'm like, no, revenge, revengerine, revengerine, revengerine. Revenge.
Revengerine, revengerine, revengerine.
Here's one little spoiler. I also love that we had like very much a Vietnam The Bachelor moment. It was really nice. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. The second book I read for August was Claimed by Her Bear. You can't really see it because of the sun, so I'll put something up there. It's Claimed by Her Bear by Ariel Marie. It is a paranormal romance erotica, and it is the second in a series. A grizzly bear who desired one thing she hadn't yet found in life. One scent changed everything. Pola Prime was a shifter who wanted to find her fated mate. Watching her sister claim hers left Pola feeling a little jealous. She kept hope alive that she would be next. There was a woman out there for her. She just had to find her. A night on the town revealed a wonderful surprise. Her mate! Shakita Harper wanted to avoid relationships and just have a little fun. Thanks to her ex, she had a fear of possessive women. She was her own person and didn't want to belong to anyone. But then she met Pola, a bear shifter who was beautiful and funny and wanted to claim her. Pola didn't want to risk losing Shakita, so she would give her time. She'd woo her mate and get her to love her. Pola hoped she was enough for Shakita to forget her past and move toward a future with her. I have a full rare review. It's only like an hour long, so please click on that. That is a really fun time. I talk way more about it in that one, but honestly, this book just isn't for me. There's a lot about it that I just didn't feel like deeply connected to. Do I think that it's like deeply offensive and wrong? No, but it's still just not for me. I gave Claimed by Her Bear 2.25 stars on Storygraph out of 5. It was alright, and I think there is definitely an audience for it. That audience is just definitely not me. The third book I read in August was I Can't Think Straight by Shamim Sarif. This is a romance book. Tala, a London-based Palestinian, is preparing for her elaborate Middle Eastern wedding when she meets Layla, a young British Indian woman who is dating her best friend. Spirited Christian Tala and shy Muslim Layla could not be more different from each other, but the attraction is immediate and goes deeper than friendship. As Tala's wedding approaches, simmering tensions come to boiling point, and the pressure mounts for Tala to be true to herself. Moving between the vast enclaves of Middle Eastern high society and the stunning backdrop of London's West End, I Can't Think Straight explores the clashes between East and West, love and marriage, conventions and individuality, creating a humorous and tender story of unexpected love and unusual freedoms. I have such nostalgic feelings about this movie specifically. There is a movie, it came out in I think 2007, 2008. So I was really excited to read this book. The book very much reads like shot for shot, like what exactly the movie is like. But honestly, I didn't really view that as a bad thing. I kind of just had like a fun time with this pretty short read. I think it's only 200 something pages. Yeah, it's like 204 pages. It's a very short read. And honestly, when I was reading it, I really needed some comforting because my dog Ginger was at the ER vet and it was like a nightmare. So it was really nice to have something I didn't have to think terribly hard about. She's fine, by the way. She already had her follow-up appointment. She's yay. Goodbye money. This book talks a lot about the Middle Eastern issues that were going on at the time with like Palestine, and I think it's really interesting how similar the issues that are still going on, like the genocide in Palestine. It's still happening, but this actually talked about it quite a bit earlier. I think this is actually one of my first introductions to what was going on in Palestine. Even though this was written in like the early 2000s, this is still very relevant today in my opinion. If you want a romance book that is quick and fun, I highly suggest this book. I still think that it's worth a read, especially if you maybe haven't seen the movie and you want to watch the movie after. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars on Storygraph also. The next book that I read was Love and Resistance, Out of the Closet and Into the Stonewall Era. This is from the New York Public Library's archives, but there are photos from Tobin, Lahusen and Diane Davies in this book. It is historical nonfiction. A ragtag group of women protesting behind a police line in the rain. A face in a crowd holding a sign that says, "Hi Mom, guess what?" at a gay rights rally. 2 lovers kissing under a tree. These indelible images are among the thousands housed in the New York Public Library's archive of photographs of 1960s and 70s LGBTQ history from photojournalists Tobin Lahusen and Diana Davies. Lahusen is a pioneering photojournalist who captured pivotal moments in the LGBTQ civil rights movement. Davies, in turn, is one of the most important photojournalists who documented gay, lesbian, and trans liberation, as well as civil rights, feminist, and anti-war movements. This powerful collection, which captures the energy, humor, and humanity of the groundbreaking protests that surrounded the Stonewall riots, celebrates the diversity of this rights movement, both in the subjects of the photos and by presenting Lahusen and Davies' distinctive work and perspectives in conversation with each other. A preface, captions, and part introductions from curator Jason Bauman provide illuminating historical context, and an introduction from Roxane Gay, best-selling author of Hunger, speaks to the continued importance of these iconic photos of resistance. I was able to read this book in one night, and I actually read it to my dog Ginger after she came back from the ER because she's always weird off of anesthesia and she couldn't sleep. So this did put her to sleep. She truly enjoyed seeing a lot of the photos of people. So if you want little Ginger's book review, it's definitely 5 out of 5. I love seeing the photos from this time period and learning more about our history. It's nice to be able to see people in photos because I feel that words can only do so much. Like, we have some like nice photos in here. Sometimes it's really nice to look back into history and then not feel so alone because it feels like now we're going through very similar things that we've already been through before. If you want just like a nice little read that doesn't have too many words, but you still get to like look at the nice pictures and enjoy the book as a whole, I highly recommend this. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. The 5th book that I read in the month of August was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. It is a historical fantasy. This is a story about hunger. 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada. A young girl grows up wild and wily. Her beauty is only outmatched by her dreams of escape. But Maria knows she can only ever be a prize or a pawn in the games played by men. When an alluring stranger offers an alternate path, Maria makes a desperate choice. She vows to have no regrets. This is a story about love, 1827 London. A young woman lives an idyllic but cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Charlotte's tender heart and seemingly impossible wishes are swept away by an invitation from a beautiful widow, but the price of freedom is higher than she could have imagined. This is a story about rage. 2019 Boston. College was supposed to be her chance to be someone new. That's why Alice moved away across the world, leaving her old life behind. But after an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning her past, her present, and her future, Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. This is a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts. I was actually genuinely so pleasantly surprised by this because I did not like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This book's tagline is toxic lesbian vampires, and they mean it. I will say that there wasn't a ton of character development, but I'm not really sure that that bothers me personally. I honestly had a good time, and I kind of loved them being awful. I love that there was no reconciliation and that there were interesting portrayals of like the abuse and that kind of stuff. Also, I said it on my page-bound account, but Ianthe Tridentarius would love Maria. If you know, you know. I gave this 4.25 stars on Storygraph. The sixth book I read was The Air You Breathe by Francis Dupont Peebles. It is a historical fiction book. Some friendships, like romance, have the feeling of fate. Skinny 9-year-old orphan Doris is working in the kitchen of a sugar plantation in 1930s Brazil when in walks a girl who changes everything. Graça, the spoiled daughter of a wealthy sugar baron, is clever, well-fed, pretty, and thrillingly ill-behaved. Born to wildly different worlds, Doris and Graça quickly bond over shared mischief and then, on a deeper level, over music. One has a voice like a songbird, the other feels melodies in her soul and composes lyrics to match. Music will become their shared passion, the source of their partnership and their rivalry, and for each, the only way out of the life to which each was born. But only one of the two is destined to be a star. Their intimate, volatile bond will determine each of their fortunes and haunt their memories. Traveling from Brazil's inland sugar plantations to the rowdy streets of Rio de Janeiro's famous Lapa neighborhood, from Los Angeles during the golden age of Hollywood back to the irresistible drumbeat of home, The Air You Breathe unfurls a moving portrait of a lifelong friendship, its unparalleled rewards and lasting losses, and considers what we owe to the relationships that shape our lives. This book to me is what The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo wishes it was. There was so much pining and feeling despite what happens by the end of the book. There were also just some really hard-hitting lines that killed me, and I'm gonna just read you a couple. What is more difficult to lose, and terrible when it is lost, is the belief that the dreams you'd nourished as a child are attainable. The idea that hard work can make up for lack of talent, the silly conviction that life doles out her rewards and challenges fairly among us. What is fairness, after all, but an illusion? Number 2. It's said that necessity is the mother of invention. I'd argue that spite is its father. How many songs, poems, palaces, paintings, books, and enterprises have been made as retribution for a slight, a heartbreak, a careless word? Creation is a form of vengeance against a disbelieving world. And the last one. I take great comfort in the fact that music existed before anyone could pin names onto it, and music will exist even when language fails us. And it will fail us, it always does. We think we need words because it is in our nature to define, to decode, to try to understand by piecing things apart and labeling them, like specimens in a museum. A child is born and we give it a name, but it is not the naming that brought the child into being. Our names make us easy to recall, and by recalling we believe we know, and by knowing we believe we understand. Names bring us comfort. It is the things we cannot name that frighten us the most. Yeah, there were just some really hard hitters in this one. If you want a tragic historical romance book that is sapphic, that actually makes you attached to the characters and that actually deals with the actual racism of old Hollywood, this is the book for you. I was honestly so surprised by this book because I just saw it at Goodwill and I was like, that looks gay, and I was right. There was just, I cannot stress to you how much pining there is in this and how deeply I enjoyed this book. I thought I was going to like give it back to Goodwill after, but I'm not going to now. I gave this book 4.75 out of 5 on Storygraph. It is so deeply upsetting though. I cannot, it's tragic. It's so tragic. I cannot stress that enough, okay? But if like me, Evelyn Hugo did not scratch your itch even slightly, this is the one, I promise. The 7th book that I read is Queen Takes Rose by Katee Robert. It is like a dark romance book. Once upon a time, I made a deal with the devil. It turns out I like playing in the dark. Over the years, I've become someone I'm proud of, someone dangerous. I'll never be as dangerous as Malone, though. She's one of the most feared leaders in Carver City, and her reputation is more than earned. Years ago, we had a single night together, and she's ignored me ever since. Imagine my surprise to discover she scheduled me for the final 2 weeks of my contract. Maybe I should be afraid. Everyone else fears Malone. Instead, all I feel is anticipation. It's time to balance the scales once and for all. The villains aren't the only ones in Carver City a person should be wary of crossing. Sometimes the prettiest flower hides the deadliest poison. Content warning. This book contains the death of a comatose parent. I think that there should be way more warnings on here than that, but alright. Yeah, that's also the only warning in the beginning of the book, which I think there should be way more warnings than that, but alright. I have to be honest with you. The world building, ass. The plot, ass. The characters, ass. The smut though, god tier. I have honestly never read smut I like this much that wasn't gross or repetitive and boring. The world building is very much like Kingdom Hearts rules, where the rules don't matter and nothing makes sense. But if you can put up with that, you might actually like this book. I'm actually coming out with a full rant review, as you can see on my tabs, for next week, so please keep an eye out for that. I didn't hate this book, but I do have a lot to say. The 8th and last book I read for the month of August was The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. It is book 3 in the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, and it is an adult fantasy book. Malini has claimed her rightful throne as the Empress of Parijatdipa, just as the nameless gods prophesied. Prophesied? I don't know. Now, in order to gain the support of the priesthood, who remain loyal to the fallen emperor, she must consider a terrible bargain, claim her throne and burn in order to seal her legacy, or find another willing to take her place on the pyre. Priya has survived the deathless waters, and now their magic runs in her veins. But a mysterious Yaksa with flowering eyes and a mouth of thorns lies beneath the waters. The Yaksa promises protection for Ahiranya, but in exchange she needs a sacrifice, and she's chosen Priya as the one to offer it. Two women once intertwined by fate now stand against each other for the sake of their respective homes. But when a new enemy rises, they will once again find themselves fighting together to prevent their kingdoms and their futures from burning to ash. I was fresh off reading this when I wrote this. I wrote this at this section at like nearly 2 a.m. after I read it on the 31st. This book was literally devastating. I thought it was a good conclusion to the trilogy. A lot of things had consequences that needed to. It's beautiful, but if you love this book and these characters like I do, the ending is very bittersweet. Spoiler here though, I'm really glad that our girls ended up being able to, you know, end up together. I was really scared. I was really truly scared for about 75% of this book, I'm not gonna lie. I am now even more excited for Tasha Suri's new book, which is a butch femme fantasy book coming out called The Isle of the Silver Sea. I'm super excited to read that one, even though I've heard some mixed things. I'm still excited anyway. I read 8 books in August, and I read 2,728 pages. All but one were fiction, and they were all sapphic as normal. My average rating was 4 stars, which makes it a pretty great month overall. In the comments, tell me what you read in August and what you really loved, or if you've read any of these books. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I try to post weekly. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!